This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. I'm your host, Scott Carson. It is the last episode of 2017 we are filming, and we have saved the best for last for you to listen in, to literally take your business to the next level. We are excited to have us join us from Temecula, California, our good friend, rock star attorney, crowdfunding expert, Jillian Sidoti. So good morning there, sunshine. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks. Wow, what an introduction. Jeez.
Well, I should also say shoe novice as well.
Right. If you wear fancy shoes, and that's how it's a conversation starter. So then somebody will start talking to you. So if you're feeling a little shy, at a networking event, and sometimes we do have a conversation piece. And usually mine are my shoes.
That's a true point. I bought Stephanie some Christian Louboutins for Christmas, and I got them a half size too small. So she went into Neiman Marcus yesterday to get them swapped out and made like 4 friends walking out of there, and 2 of them are wanting to find more about what we do. So,
oh, okay, that's so good. Oh, that's so funny.
I was like,
no, I'm not up to Christian Louboutin yet. I would like to move up to that, but I'm not quite there.
Well, trust me, I didn't pay Vegas prices or California prices for them.
Of course you didn't. You buy notes at a discount.
That's right. I waited like the Christmas Eve to buy them, and we got them in a.
Oh my God, that's so great.
I called around and said, "Hey, what are they? Oh, okay, I'll be in and pick them up." But anyway, Jillian, for those that don't know who you are, and if you're listening here on iTunes and Stitcher, or you're watching here on Facebook Live, and you don't know who Jillian Sidoti is, you better make a point. Take some notes, find her. This lady knows her shiznit when it comes to raising capital or doing big things. So, Jillian, why don't you, for those that don't know who you are, take a couple seconds or a couple minutes to share who you are and kind of what you do and your expertise in the real estate industry.
Sure, absolutely. So I am a licensed California attorney. I work all over the world. Actually, I have clients, mostly real estate entrepreneurs who are trying to raise money for their deals. So what I do is I am your voice, your legal voice between you and your potential investors, so that you can make sure that they're fully informed of what they're getting into, and so that you're legally compliant. And, I started off the same way a lot of people who are listening to this podcast started off. I was, in a situation, I tried my hand at entrepreneurship at something else, and found that I was just struggling so much, and thought and I was struggling so much because I financed the business on my credit card, and found that was not the right way to finance a business. And literally that parlayed into what I do today, which is that helping entrepreneurs find the best way to finance their businesses.
And do it in bigger numbers too, correct?
Exactly, yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of people who come to me, they start off with, hey, they're raising, what are they raising? They're raising money for single family flips and things like that. So they're trying to raise onesie, twosie deals, or a little bit of money at a time. And then what they have to end up doing is giving that money back after the deal's over, and then asking for that money again. And so what I try to do is make it so that you don't have to ask for the money back.
But whereas people oftentimes make it a little simple, like they're doing individual deals, they're selling the deal versus selling the business model. And once you really help people out, especially with the PPMs, the private placement memorandums, and stuff like that, right, selling the business model so it keeps the money in there churning. And
Exactly. Because why do you want to get yourself on a hamster wheel of constantly asking for money? And I've had some very, very, very successful people who have very much raised a lot of money doing that and have been very, 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 very successful in doing that. But then, oh my God, what just happened to my computer? That is so weird. Sorry.
You got excited. It talked about raising big amounts of money.
Sorry about that, everyone. So watch what happens live. So anyhow, I really try to get you off that hamster wheel, because even though you might be very successful in raising money that way with the one at a time, deal, like, hey, I have this one note that I'm buying at a discount and I'd like to JV with somebody. It's a great way to get started, not a great way to sustain your business. Because what's going to end up happening is again, you're going to be on that hamster wheel of constantly asking for money, constantly trying to get investors to be convinced of that particular deal. And you're going to find that your investors are going to start earmarking that money for something else. And move on in some circumstances. So this way we say to the investors, hey, look, I'm going to keep your money for 3 years and this is what I'm going to do with it. And this is what I'm hoping to return to you. That's the beautiful thing. It's like tying up like an annuity or CD for a while to help go out and make things happen. Yeah, but hold on a second, Scott. An annuity or a CD is like a certificate of depreciation. We're not... Or certificate of disappointment, like I like to say. Exactly. No, that's not what we want to do. We don't, it is going to be tied up in that sense, but the hope is that it's making way more money than a CD or an annuity. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing too. It's making a lot more in a CD and annuity, but it's helping you as the kind of not the investor investing money, but the real estate investor, the real estate entrepreneur, being able to give somebody what's like called a preferred rate, right? Which is going to be probably better than a normal joint venture where it's a 50-50 split of things, correct? Oh, exactly. And so that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. And we can kind of, I get like so flustered about this because entrepreneurs don't understand what their value is sometimes. And that bothers me tremendously. So a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly real estate entrepreneurs, don't understand the value of being the person with the opportunity. So all cash is green, but not all investors are created equally. And we also know that about opportunities. And when we're talking about real estate, we're talking about an asset or a note in that situation. You're talking about an asset that you can touch, feel, watch, foreclose on, whatever it might be. So what we want to really kind of take a look at is what is the best way to get investor money in? What is the best return that we can offer them without losing our shirts? And so a lot of times with the JV, those folks who are investing their money, I don't want to diminish the value of that and the importance of that, but they're investing money, and money is a fungible item that can be recreated. We can get more money. What we can't get more of is time. And I think a lot of our entrepreneur friends lose sight of that and think that the money is just as valuable as the time that you're putting into it. And I, a lot of the time, not all the time, disagree with that sentiment. It's just simply not true. You definitely need both. You need money and time to make things work. But I don't think it's worth 50% of the deal that you're working so hard on all the time. Right, because there's a lot of times that people are working too hard. They don't have the time. So he who has the gold makes the rules. And in this sense, so the word, either a higher return is the gold, or the fact that you're able to help people put their money to work when they don't have the time to do it. Right. And that's the thing. Like, you're offering an opportunity that might not otherwise present itself. Look, here's the thing. I see opportunities every day. I see brand new opportunities, and I still jump at the chance of a good opportunity because the good opportunities don't always present itself. So if you really truly believe that your opportunity is a good one, you got to go forth with an attitude that it's a great opportunity, and that your investors' money, although important, is not the most important thing. The opportunity is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about setting expectations. I think that's an important thing when people are raising capital, not to overpromise and then underdeliver. You want to underpromise and overdeliver. Can you agree with that? Oh, absolutely. So here's the thing. And I'm an eternal optimist, And I have the same tendency, because I don't want to disappoint anybody, to do this myself. But the thing is you got to look at reasonable expectations and what's reasonable to make in this market and at this time in this economy. And the thing is that the opportunities are getting smaller. Well, I don't want to say they're getting smaller, but they're far and few between. There's less opportunity out there because the economy is doing so well. And we see that especially in defaulted notes, right? I do think we're going to see, this is the economist to me coming out, but I do think we're going to see an uptick in defaults. I'm buying an investment property myself right now, and the notary came to my house last night with the closing documents, and she did say to me, I'm starting to see more short sales. So we are going to see that uptick. We are. But right now, at this moment, we're seeing that the opportunities are not as plentiful as they were perhaps several years ago. And so if that is the case and the margins are smaller, then you need to set the expectations of your investors as such and explain that to them. Because, you explaining that to them is only going to make you look more like an expert. See, I didn't know what I was talking about right there in that last statement, but I made myself sound like an expert.
Are you saying being a good bullshit artist helps?
Yeah. No, but I mean, all I did was take a small little story of something that happened, and I parlayed that into a nugget of truth and information for a potential investor, so that they really kind of understand a lay of the land.
Well, I would agree with you, because we see that especially in the defaulted note side. A lot of people say, oh, there's not any opportunities. And there are plenty of opportunities. We do see uptick in defaults. I do see some more short sales hitting in the market, especially the higher end markets. But what it is we've, over the last couple of years, we've been very spoiled because we've been in this note market basically with maybe 5,000 people or less. But as the value's gone up and the REOs have dried up and the other traditional low-hanging fruit has dropped, we've had a lot of lien lords, we've had a lot of REO refugees come into the note space looking for deals, and the low-hanging fruit gets picked relatively quickly, and those sellers up their prices. So you've got to up your game, going higher up the chain of command, going more direct to banks, buying in bigger bulk purchases. I mean, we had a phenomenal 2018. I've closed on about 150 notes in the last 120 days.
Oh, wow.
Bought a lot. About half of them have gotten reperforming. So it's phenomenal yields that we're working through.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very unusual to get them
We've tweaked our formula. Don't get me wrong. We probably made offers on 700 assets and still walked away with about 150, but it's a lot of due diligence, stuff like that. But we've upped our game on things. And I think 2018 is the year of upping your game and going bigger. So let's talk about going bigger with what you're doing and helping some of your clients. Now, one of the things that you are an expert as, and you have really cut your teeth, I think you are the premier expert in private placements and Reg A with the SEC filings and things like that. Let's talk a little about that and how you're helping some investors up their games in the new year.
So Reg A is like an initial, it's also referred to as a mini IPO, which is an initial public offering. So it's a public offering, unlike a private placement memorandum, which are generally limited to only the wealthy, accredited investors and stuff like that. A mini IPO allows an entrepreneur to raise money from anybody using general solicitation. And what we mean by general solicitation is basically advertising for investors. So I could be on this podcast right now. If I were doing a Regulation A filing and say, hey, everybody, I'm raising money for my note fund. We're paying a 7% preferred return. And then we're splitting 20% of the back end with our investors. We invest in first non-performings and second performing notes throughout the country. And we have a system in place that we've employed for the last 20 years. And that's like a real client of mine. And so you could go out and do that and raise money that way. And actually, one of my clients went back to the old methodology of, you remember the investor luncheons? I think they still do those in some regards, but the old investor luncheons, and he's killing it, raising money for notes via Reg A, doing investor luncheons in Florida.
Well, I can see that why Florida works. It's God's waiting room. You got a lot of people waiting around to die, and if they get a free lunch, they're good. But that's like the old Alan Cowgill way of doing things. Let's have a luncheon or let's have a dinner. And we see some of that. Literally, I see some of that here at some of the local restaurants from local financial advisors.
Right. Right. And the thing is the difference with, I'm not bashing on Alan Cowgill, but the way they were doing it back in the day was not legal. I mean, I could show you a multitude of cease and desist letters that say, look, doing these luncheons is not legal. Guess what? Regulators love free lunch. And I've had regulators tell me they love free lunch. So they'll find these ads for these free luncheons and go to them and then nail the people with a cease and desist. They'll say, I attended this event and this is what happened. And I was solicited for this investment and it was they are not a registered security and blah, 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 blah. And I can't tell you how many clients of mine I had to dig out of holes because they did those luncheons and then solicited the audience. But now we can solicit the audience. It's just depending on how we do it. Do we do it so that it's only to accredited investors or that we only accept money from accredited investors, or do we do it under a Regulation A offering?
So let's talk about what separates a investor from being accredited or non-accredited. What are some of those requirements or standards that we have to look at?
So an accredited investor is somebody who makes $200,000 a year as an individual, $300,000 a year as a married couple, or has a net worth of $1 million exclusive of their primary residence. So, it's a pretty high threshold. According to the SEC, well, it depends on which statistic you read, but some statistics say that it's 3% of the population, and I've seen other statistics that say that's only 10% of the population. So it really can range.
Right. But that's still important to keep in mind when you're out talking to people and kind of qualifying your audience for what you're trying to offer up though, right?
Right, exactly. And so like when you're doing, I'm going to backtrack for one quick second. So pre 2012, it was pretty much illegal for anybody who's selling private securities to do any kind of general solicitation whatsoever. And then post 2012, we saw, the Crowdfunding Act, for lack of a better term. It's not called that, but is for all intents and purposes, the Crowdfunding Act. And one of those rules was that you could raise up to, you could raise as much money as you want from accredited investors using general solicitation. So you can market to anybody you want. Because quite frankly, think about it. How are you going to avoid having an unaccredited investor see your advertisement? You're not. You're simply, that's impossible. So you can advertise to the world. I mean, you go anywhere and say, I'm looking for investors. It's the point of investment. Once they invest, you have to verify that they're actually indeed accredited.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the big things we talk about, investor profiles and taking the time to interview your clients. The old financial advisor and banker in me comes out when I think about when people would come and sit down, we always pull out a profile sheet. Okay, let's talk about what are your goals? Where's your money at? Where's it tied up? And if it hit a number, okay, great. If it didn't hit a number, we got to go to a different route. So I think a lot of people miss out on that.
Quick story.
Yeah, go ahead.
I used to get those notifications of, those mailers from like Merrill Lynch or whatever saying, come to our free lunch. And I remember when I was pregnant with my second child, I would drag my first child with me because as a pregnant woman, I'll eat on the dime of Merrill Lynch at some really Italian restaurant. Then I would sign up for anything. I was thinking about what crazy person does that for free lunch? Pregnant woman.
You were technically, as they call it in the radio station, a prize pig, but you just wanted a steak or a chicken parmesan.
That's exactly what I did. I'd roll right in, me and my husband and my oldest son. I'd be all pregnant, and I'd just be like, "Oh, good, free lunch, thanks." Sign up for our services? Nope.
Thanks for the time, though. See you next time. Yeah. When's your next one? Next week, we'll be back again.
Yeah. Oh, I should buy annuities? All right. Well, let me think about that. You can call me in a couple days.
You give them their phone number, but the last digit is wrong.
I'm saying this out loud going, this is terrible.
Trust me. Hey, you were just there for the close. You were just there to, perfect your closing when you're talking to people.
Right.
So people that are looking to take their game to a big level, where do you see a lot of people starting with, Reg A's or other things that when they start going, what kind of amount is it? $1 million plus, 5 million, 30 million? Where do you start seeing people that are looking to raise money start off with a PPM or whatever? You know what I mean? A Reg A or whatever.
I think if you want to start with a PPM, you should always be looking at if I'm going to raise more than $500,000 this year. And that's how you want to think about it in a year. And then and then to go from that to the next level of Reg A, you have to think about two things. One, am I reaching an accredited investor audience with what I'm doing right now? And do I need to change? Or do I have this massive audience that I can pull from that I'm not, because I'm only getting from accredited investors? I mean, you and I, when we talked about your business, we went through the same thing. You were raising money from accredited investors and realized, well, I have this whole audience or this pool of students and people who don't want to do the business. I can't tell you how many times I find people who go to real estate investing seminars and just realize I don't want to, whatever it is, with the effort. I mean, I started off this conversation with saying, hey, it takes a lot of time and effort to do this business, and that's worth something. Well, some people don't want to put in that time and effort.
Yep.
They want to put in their money, and those people are not necessarily accredited. And so if you're finding that you're involved with a lot of people of that ilk, then is the time to start thinking about a Reg A. It's not really a dollar number, but if somebody came to me and said, look, I just want to raise $1.5 million or something like that, I generally speaking would not encourage them to do a Reg A. I really want to see Reg A's for $5 million, $10 million or more at least. Most of my Reg A's are around the $25 to $50 million mark. So,
well, it's just because it's time, there's cost to
money.
it.
Yeah. There's time and money associated with it. And so I don't want you wasting your money on putting together these legal documents that are going to cost you a lot of money. I don't want to mince words. And they're going to take you some time. And so I don't want to see you doing that when you might have a very good pool of accredited investors that you can pull from, or even if you do like what 506B is in BOY is usually referred to as a friends and family round, where it's pre-existing relationships. You still need a private placement memorandum. I want you guys to be very aware when you're dealing with people who you have pre-existing relationships with, and especially if they're not accredited, you have to offer them full disclosure as to what is going on. That might, if you're raising less than $500,000, that might not necessarily look like a private placement memorandum, but you do have to keep in mind that unaccredited investors are entitled to full disclosure as to what the heck's going on with their money.
Well, that's the thing too. If you're going to raise $500,000, might as well just go in for $1 million, because it's not going to be
right
$1 million or more, because it's not going to be that much more difficult to do that when you're out networking and talking with people. Because that's 5 people with $100,000 or 10 people with $50,000, which is pretty easy to find if you're doing any type of marketing or any type of just networking at your local real estate clubs or things like that. Right.
And the other thing I want to say about that is that if you think about the amount of money that it takes to take down a really big pool or a really big tape, you need serious cash, and you need to come with cash ready to close, right? And that's how you get the good deals. I mean, I remember during the downturn, you could get pools for 3 cents on the dollar, right? And oh my God, I remember this one deal came across my desk, but we needed $3 million cash to take it down. But 3 cents on that, you can't find that now. 3 cents.
No, that would have been like the peak, like 2000. Wells Fargo Financial was the cheapest I ever bought assets from. It was like 2.5 cents of unpaid balance. And my biggest regret is I didn't buy more.
Right.
Right. Craziness. Now, we wish we could see that. When will that happen again? Who knows? They said the RTC days never repeat themselves, and we just went through that basically again. We'll see it again, but you're right. You got to have cash. You got to be ready to pull the trigger. And the last thing, and I think the biggest mistake I see a lot of people make as real estate entrepreneurs, whether it's notes or REOs, is they use their own cash first because they've got some money saved. Oh, I'm not going to raise any capital. But then they use their own money on deals. So they're sitting around waiting for those deals to close or finish. They get their money back so they can go buy more. And they pass deals all day long because they didn't take the time to really raise capital or take the time to put into their marketing and or infrastructure through a Reg A or
right.
whatever to make
no, and this is the thing. It's going to happen again. It will. And I'll tell you, it's going to happen again. I know, not because I have a crystal ball, but because there's always real estate cycles. They're not avoidable. I mean, okay, so we had this one in 2008 and it was terrible and it was awful, but it still wasn't the Great Recession, which means there is some gray area between, it wasn't the Great Depression. So there's some area between the Great Depression and the Great Recession. And then there's some area between the Great Recession and now. And that area between the Great Recession and now isn't necessarily, something that is unavoidable. I know it's not unavoidable. I just know it's not. And if we look every 20 years or so, we see this cycle happening. If we look at the early 90s, lots of layoffs. Then right after September 11th, September 11th, and then again we saw a recession, in 2008, of course, and now everything I'm reading is saying about 2024, which is very optimistic if you ask me, but 2024 is when we're going to hit rock bottom. So we have a couple of years.
Yay!
A couple of years of riding high on the hog.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the big thing is preparing for that stuff is the best thing that you can do, is to be prepared for that when it happens, because that's when the millionaires are made, is when there's blood in the water, diving in and buying as much as you can. And I think that's one.
Yeah. That's why my thought process right now is to sell as much as I can and put as much in liquid form as possible so that I can pull it out quickly and buy these. So that 3 cents on a dollar doesn't pass me by again. $100,000 is not going to cut it, guys.
No, exactly. So let's talk about, I'm friends with a buddy of mine, Greg Reed. I think you know Greg as well there. And he talks about how we're an average of the 5 people that we hang around the most, whether it's income or mindset or things like that. And if people are watching this or listening to this on iTunes and they're wanting to kind of up their level by surrounding themselves with a higher level of crowd, don't you know of an upcoming event that they might be able to go out and network at and really transition to?
Yes. Guys, our firm is hosting an amazing event called Converge 2018. It's in Las Vegas. It's at a really nice hotel. I really want to encourage you to go to crowd2018.com and look at our testimonial video there, because the testimonial video says it all. It's literally people who I know, a lot of them are my clients in that testimonial video, who go, I thought I was doing a lot of amazing things, and then I met a bunch of other people who were doing more amazing things than I am, and I don't know even what to say about it, except that the networking was phenomenal. So it's a no sale, no pitch event. It's hosted by my firm. So we just bring in people we know who've been successful in their field, and they're going to give you almost like a roadmap on how to crowdfund your deals in 2018. And we got all kinds of different people coming in and talking and different techniques. So, a big thing for me is that I find that there are different comfort levels in terms of what people are comfortable with and how they market themselves. Some people like personal contact. Some people like doing it on the internet. Some people, have a education-based approach like we're kind of doing right here, right now. And it really kind of runs the gamut on what you're going to feel comfortable with in terms of how you market yourself and how you market your crowdfunding deals. And so we have all of those people coming in, and then we have all the support people coming in and saying what you need to do with your investors and how you need to treat them, and really kind of figuring out all the players you need to be successful in doing a crowdfunding deal. So anyhow, that's Crowd 2018. It's Crowd Converge. And I think, Scott, you have a link to that, right? So can you put that?
I'm going to put that in the comments. And then if they're listening on iTunes or Stitcher after this live event, they can always go to our blog, WeCloseNotes.com blog, and there'll be links there for them to go directly to. But it's crowdconverge.com, correct? Or crowd2018.com. But I think they both kind of forward over to, don't they?
Exactly. So it's Crowd. Yeah. I just use the Crowd 2018 one because it's just easy to remember. Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely go check out that testimonial video, because if nothing else, that will most certainly convince you of what you should be doing in 2018 with your business. And I'm going to give some special bonuses to anybody who signs up from the Note Closer show. So if you email me after the fact, Note Closers, and my email address is Jillian@crowdfundinglawyers.net. That's Jillian@crowdfundinglawyers.net. I'm going to send you some free bonuses. I'm going to give you some guides. I'm going to give you some videos, and I'm going to give you a copy of my book, The Crowdfunding Myth, totally for free, so that you can get started and start researching right now before the event. Make it your New Year's resolution to crowdfund your business and raise the money that you need for your business, so you can get that 3 cents on a dollar.
I love it. And it's going to be in Vegas. Let's talk about the dates of that, just because we didn't mention it, because it's literally about a month away. It might be important for people to know that, right?
Yeah. I'm really good at selling. It's February 1st and 2nd, and it's at the Mandalay Bay. The event's at the Mandalay Bay, and our room block is at the Delano, which is super nice hotel. Yes, super nice hotel. At a discounted rate. Yeah. So definitely, if nothing else, make sure you get your tickets and then immediately get your room block. We did sell out of the room block relatively early last year. So do make sure you get your room if you're gonna attend.
Right. Jillian, what was the email that you should send it to? Because I'm typing that into the comments here on Facebook Live real fast.
Jillian@crowdfundinglawyers.net. And I'm going to send you some videos. I'm going to send you some guides. I'm going to send you a white paper on how to top 5 things you can do to crowdfund your business today. And then I'm going to send you a copy of my best-selling book. Okay, maybe that's a lie, but but I'm going to tell you, it's a highly rated book on Amazon. I'm going to send you a copy of my book, Crowdfunding Myth, and you can start reading it. It's a super easy read. And also, I'm writing a new book called Private Money Rockstar, which I'm hoping will be ready by Crowd Converge, and you'll also get a free copy of that.
That's awesome. That's some big bonuses there for coming to Vegas there. That's phenomenal. And look, trust me, guys, anytime you can spend money on improving the people you're around with, or marketing, or learning new tricks that most people aren't going to take the time to do, it is exponentially worth what you're going to pay for the price of the tickets on this. And I think what the ticket price is, $9.99, something like that. It's
$9.95. Yeah.
That's well worth it it's a Thursday and Friday in Vegas at the Mandalay Bay room block at the Delano. Jillian's going to give you her 2 books. And then what else are you throwing in there as well? You throwing in a home study course, or is that what you're planning on doing?
I'm going to give you my home study course, and it has 6 modules in it that will tell you how to raise money. And I sell the home study course by itself for $14.95. So she
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So one of the big things I loved about the videos when I was watching this and going through it, and we have it marked on the calendar. We've got your event marked on the calendar. It's one of the first things we've had on the calendar here for a while.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's just the fact that people are talking about, hey, I thought I had great ideas, and then I came and found something new. And you got 1 or 2 nuggets in an event like this will exponentially shoot your business into the stratosphere and help give you some ideas to knock some things out of the park for you.
Oh, it absolutely will. It absolutely will. I'm telling you that the connections that were made from just the attendees amongst themselves alone, there is not one single attendee there that's not on on their game. So if you're feeling like you want to surround yourself with like-minded people who are achieving, this is the event to go to. And tons of note buyers there. Tons of note. One of my reggae clients who did a note buying fund was there and is in that testimonial video as well.
Yeah, definitely. I recognize a few faces there. Do you know if the cash flow divas are going to be there by any chance?
I don't know. Oh, I should ask them. I'll have to find out.
I've not talked to Terry and Aaliyah in quite some time. I need to give them a holler and just say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, the cash flow brigade.
Right.
What questions do you guys have for Jillian today for you? Now's the time to be asking questions. As I pull this up here, I'm trying to check everything. Comments. We have quite a few comments here. Let's see here. Gene says, more than what it takes now. It seems like a lot of work, more than what it takes now. I don't know what you're talking about, Gene. Refresh on that. Laura says, guilty as charged. Number one focus for 2018 is funding, so we can pull the trigger with the banks we are calling. There you go, Laura. You and Jillian need to jump on a plane and head out to Vegas February 1st and 2nd for you. Okay? Somebody likes my Captain America shirt, or are they talking about Jillian's shirt there, David Moore? I hope it's Captain America. I mean, you probably look good in the blue blouse.
A little nondescript, but thanks.
Good stuff. Oh, Gene says dealing with small investors. Yeah, dealing with smaller investors can be the biggest pain in the ass that you have. I will tell you this. The last thing you want to do is partner up or joint venture with somebody who's got like 10 grand total, because they're going to bother you every single day. Where's that money at, or how's it performing? And you don't want to deal with that.
No.
Yeah, trust me, I get it when we're all brand new, we're hungry, we're looking for capital, things like that. We got somebody who's got 10 grand, let me go find a 10 grand deal. Literally, trust me, it's better to work a little bit harder, go out and network a little bit more to take things to the next level. Now, Jillian, I know you've done some interesting things in the past with networking to surround yourself with a higher clientele. You want to share any of the fun things that you've done in the past?
Okay, so I usually buy a first class plane ticket because you always find interesting people. As a matter of fact, I got a great story. I was flying first class from DFW to Nashville, and the woman who sat next to me was coming in from Germany, and she was an environmental lobbyist.
Wow.
And so she had been at an environmental lobbyist, or like some kind of environmental convention in Germany. And we just chatted. And I said, so how did you get into this? And she goes, well, I worked for Al Gore. And I was like, wow, okay. So like, and then somehow we got into Hillary Clinton. This is the part that's great. And I go, she goes, well, I worked for Al Gore, so you know how I feel about Hillary Clinton. And I go, well, no, I don't. I would assume you'd like her. And she goes, and this is the face she gave me. And I was like, you don't like, you didn't like Hillary Clinton? She goes, listen, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I always vote Democrat. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. She goes, we hated Hillary. Everybody in the Al Gore camp hated Hillary Clinton. I just started laughing. There's nothing you do. So I buy first class, including another thing I did was there were other reasons for this, but I thought about it from not just from my perspective, but from my children's perspective, and I put them in private school. I wanted my children to be around. I thought about, if I'm going to do this for myself, I want my children to have the same habits. The other thing and this is all costing money. I understand that, but some of these things do cost money. A mastermind, that costs money. But here's something that doesn't cost a ton of money while you're doing good. Charitable events. Going to charitable dinners that might set you back $100 to $200 a plate is a great place to meet people who not only have disposable income, but are doing good and are probably halfway decent people at the same time. While you're supporting a cause that is important to you.
Didn't you also bid on like a tennis club membership or something like that a while back?
I did. I went to the Malibu. I bid on like a month-long tennis club or 3-month-long tennis club membership to the Malibu Tennis Club. I never made it there, so all I did was really make a good charitable donation, and I didn't really think that through because I don't live anywhere near Malibu.
Well, but you live in a great capital raising area too, there in Temecula in California, Southern wine country. I'm a big advocate of wine networking, as we like to say, being part of the wine club or going out. And I've raised some great capital going out local, like wine clubs here in Steiner Ranch and South Austin. You never know who you're going to meet there. And often if somebody's got part of a wine club, they've usually got a little bit of disposable income that they're looking to put to work, right?
I belong to 5 wine clubs. And I know that sounds like a lot, but the reality is it's a great way to, well, you want to know what's funny is one of the wine clubs I hadn't been to in, I don't know, like 8 months. So I showed up there, but I always do this right before Thanksgiving. And I go, I think I have some pickups. And they go, yeah, you have some pickups. You have like practically the whole year. And I ended up walking out of there with like 13 bottles of wine the day before Thanksgiving. But after I went to all my wine clubs and picked up all the wine that I had neglected over the last several months, I ended up, I think, with 42 bottles of wine. So yeah. But here's the thing. I just started giving them away as presents. But here's the thing about that. The thing about wine clubs is they're usually not as expensive as they sound. So for example, here in Temecula, you belong to the wine club and you get, all you're doing is buying wine. That's your obligation, is to buy wine. But the benefits of buying that wine far outweigh the cost of the wine. For example, what you get here is you usually get what are called free tastings. So I can walk into a winery and get free tastings almost any day of the week, and for me and a couple of my friends. And one of the wineries I belong to allows me to bring 7 people every single day to go wine tasting, which is a great thing to do when I have clients in town and I want to impress them. I'll say, hey, let's go.
I've done that with you before. You've taken Stephanie wine tasting before, yeah. Yeah,
and it doesn't cost me anything. I've already paid for it in buying bottles of wine. So that's why these wine clubs are so advantageous. And then, of course, the networking that goes into going to the winery itself.
One of my favorite things I do is I like to buy sports tickets to go to games, and I buy good tickets, front row or 50-yard line seats or good seats, because I use it as a networking opportunity to talk to the people around me, because we have something in common, being fans, and it's an easy icebreaker, buying them a beer, they buy a beer, we get to talking and exchange cards. I've raised quite a bit of money from it. I'm getting ready to go on the Quest IRA cruise here in the next week, actually. And one of the best craziness things, a couple years ago, I was on the National Ria cruise, and I'm in the Grand Caymans, and I'm like just walking around there at the bar, the Tiki Bar, if you've ever been there. Walk up to the Tiki Bar, order a grouper sandwich, and they're eating, they're talking to this lady next to me. We're just shooting a breeze, just talking about half an hour. She's like, oh, hey, you got to meet my husband, because she finds out what I do in real estate. So my husband's a real estate investor. Taps him on the shoulder. He owns 200 Wendy's throughout Florida.
Oh my God.
He owned the house that they filmed in The Firm that Tom Cruise and Gene Hackman were in, literally a block down. 30 minutes later, I'm in his house drinking scotch, smoking a Cuban cigar. He's giving me a tour of the place, and he's talking about investing. I get home, there's like emails. Hey, I got $100,000 to put with you. I got 150 grand. I'm like, Jesus, man.
Wow.
But that's
crazy.
It's all about upping your game and just talking to the people around you when you're at these places, See,
and the thing is, everything we just mentioned here is no great burden, right? Everything we just talked about is something fun to do. So even if you don't walk away from that experience with money in hand from an investor, and by the way, that should never be your goal.
Right.
Goal should never be like, I'm going to walk away with an investor today. Your goal should be, I'm going to make friends. I'm going to network. I'm going to have a good time. Really, like, just have a good time. And I know that's why I say, like, come to Crowd Converge, check out the videos I'm going to send you, and look at the different ways that you can raise money. Because for some people who are painfully shy, I am not one of those people. But I get it. I get, the overwhelmingness of talking to new people. If that doesn't work for you, there's plenty of other ways to go out and raise money. But all of these ways, if you're somewhat of an outgoing person, these are just, social ways to make new friends and eventually find more investors. And if you make this is the thing, if you make this a habit, the money will follow.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Make it a habit and you become a money magnet. With things and attract things like that. So once again, guys, definitely want to check out crowd2018.com for the Crowd Converge Summit, February 1st and 2nd in Vegas. Ticket price is $9.95 a person. If you go ahead and sign up for that and then send Jillian an email at Jillian@crowdfundinglawyers.net, she'll send you over the extra bonuses once you're signed up for the event. Correct, Jillian?
Yeah, exactly. Just send me an email and I'll add you to the bonuses right away. And I'm personally doing this. This is a personal offer from me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And are you got big plans for New Year's Eve?
I'm going to Mexico tomorrow.
Going to Mexico tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to go to Cancun. You know why we're going to Cancun? Because it's a 3-hour flight and I have 3 children. So So it's the closest, easiest, best place to go for us to go.
There you go. Just don't drink the different colored Solo cups.
Oh yeah, no. I kind of, I you know what it is? I've gotten so snotty in my old age. Like it's like if somebody suggested to me that I'd stay at a Motel 6, I'd be like, no, I'll be in the rental car. It's okay.
Well, you've worked hard. We've all worked hard. We don't want to stay in the things we stayed at when we were 20 on spring break. You know what I mean? Getting 6 people into a Motel 6 or whatever,
I remember when I was on tour, when I ran the record label, when I was on tour, and I ended up in like North Dakota at like 3 a.m. and I was exhausted and it was cold and it was muddy and snowy. And I walked into a hotel and I was like, how much for a room? And I swear to God, I think she said like $50 and it was like $25 too much. And I'm like, that's not going to work because I don't have the money. Like that's how pathetic it was. And so now I'm like, oh, Motel 6, no way.
But that's okay. That's quite a rate. Up your game. You have upped your level a little bit, as they would say in the video. Right?
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Well, hey, I want to thank you for taking time on your busy, hectic schedule here. I know you're getting ready to head out of town. I know a lot of people that have watched this. Jim says he sent you an email. Laura says she's excited. Thank you, Jillian and Scott. Some great stuff there. Donovan says thanks for the great info. Lots of great stuff out there. A lot of great people watching out there. So, guys, take advantage of it. If you really want to kickstart your year, hey, February 1st and 2nd, Las Vegas, the Crowd Converge. Go to crowd2018.com to get signed up. Trust me, it is well worth the investment. We look forward to seeing you guys there. So, Jillian, on behalf from Steph and everybody here at WCN, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year to you as well. All right, dear.
You too. Well, you guys have a great one, and I'll talk to you all soon. Have a good one.
Sounds good then. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closer Show. I want to, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, first of all, I want to say thank you for being a part of the Note Closers Show this amazing 2007. Yes, we started in 2016 October doing these daily Facebook Lives, and it has really blossomed to something big. If you're listening on iTunes and you're one of our just under 50,000 download listeners, thank you so much for being a part of our extended Note family, Note crew. We have obviously learned a lot about doing these events or podcasts and are constantly tweaking what we're doing and what we're sharing. And it's always a fun time. It's actually one of the things I look forward to each day, being able to connect with our extended tribe all across the United States and also to our international listeners too. So once again, guys, thank you so much for making 2017 a very special year. We look forward and want to drink to your success in 2018. So go out, make something happen. If you really want to make a change in your life and your business, you got to start upping your game. Surround yourself with great people. As I said before, you're an average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, and maybe you got to up your game. Put some friends on the side, the back burner, so that you can take care of yourself. And instead of you trying to feed the world with an empty cup, fill your cup and then feed the rest of the world with what your cup runs over. So on behalf of everybody at We Close Notes and the Note Closer Show, I want to thank all of our guests, all of our listeners, all of our downloads, all of those that have left a review. Thank you so much. Go out and make something happen, and we look forward to your continued success in 2018. And, of course, we'll see you all at the top, everybody.